So hello everyone, I'm Kinga Wilson of Insight Recruitment, and thanks for tuning in to today's video. I am delighted to be joined by Brandon Schulte, Director of Marketing Technology Services at Zirous. So Brandon, thanks very much for your time today. Can I ask you to give us a quick introduction so people have an understanding of what you do at Zirous?
Thanks, King. It's great to be here with you today. So like you said, I work for Zirous. My name is Brandon Schulte. I'm the Director of Marketing Technology Services. We are a 35-year-old IT services firm based in Des Moines, Iowa that works across the Midwest and the Western United States. We really work with companies to solve business problems using technology. And we've really constructed our services around that philosophy. So each solution supports many critical business activities on its own, but together they create holistic strategies that stand the test of time and weather every storm.
Nice.
Some of our offerings include marketing technology, identity and access management, custom development, cloud services, data analytics, and integration. So really a full service solution provider to help clients with a little bit of everything.
Yeah, you do it all. So, you know, we can't get through one of these without talking about the pandemic. So how has the pandemic changed the ways that companies think and consume technology?
Sure, that's a great question and definitely appropriate given the way past year has been with everything being so crazy. So I think there's really two key areas that I've seen where companies have changed over the last year. So the first one is digital transformation. So that's been a buzzword for a long time about how do you utilize customer data to be able to be a competitive advantage in your marketplace. I think what the pandemic really did is accelerate the timeline. So things that were going to happen over a 2, 3, 5-year standpoint really happened over the course of months or weeks in some cases. So how do I move my retail business online, or how do I push more customers through digital channels since I can't have in-person events? My salespeople can't go out in the field anymore. So that's one thing that we've really helped customers do is really focus on what is that 360-degree picture of our customer, where are all the different input sources that may be part of that solution. So whether that's your CRM, marketing automation, e-commerce systems, technologies, legacy systems that manage your customer data, how do you bring that all together and then really being able to activate in real time? So that's one. The other one has really been data security and access management. So like many companies, they've maybe had a few remote employees, but moving your entire workforce to a remote type situation in a matter of weeks really caused a lot of data and security challenges with people logging on from remote locations, not within the company firewall, being able to access systems from cloud-based environments that just hadn't been necessary in the past, or if they did, they were in very small doses. So really understanding what it means from access management. So who has access to what systems, being able to, automate the processes. So when people leave, when people join, when people change roles, to be able to give them different access to meet their needs, kind of that just-in-time management of security roles and access. And then really even things like password management, which a lot of IT help desks spend a significant amount of the time when people are away from their office, that just exacerbates a lot of the problems there. So that's the other big area where we've seen a lot of growth. I know, both Zirous as well as a lot of the technology partners we work with have had kind of record years in that security space due to the things that I've mentioned so far.
Everybody had a crash course in those areas, right?
Definitely.
Data security, access management, all of that stuff, remote employees. So Brandon, how would you see technology evolving like during this next decade? Like how much different do you think we're going to look in 2030?
Yeah, another great question. So I really think of where we were at 10 years ago to where we're at today in terms of technology. I mean, where things like Facebook and Google and, even some of the most startup platforms, I mean, like TikTok wasn't even a thing, right? 10 years ago. So, yeah. So, I mean, I think there's a few key areas that you'll really see us looking different. So I touched on a little bit, but, data as a competitive advantage, I think, is where a lot of companies are going to really focus on. You've seen that with, your Amazons and, some of your best in breed customer service platforms are really taking that to another level. I think the technology over the next 10 years is going to allow small and medium-sized companies that have similar types of ecosystems and technology infrastructure to be able to use data as a competitive advantage. With that, another thing that you're going to see is privacy laws. So, GDPR went live a couple years ago. CCPA went live earlier this year. They're updating that here with a ballot initiative that just passed in November's election in the coming years. I think you're going to see more states and more governments for those that are companies that are focused internationally. So how do we maintain privacy? How do we respect somebody's right to be forgotten? How do we understand what they're interested in and really stay compliant while also still driving revenue? Because we can't get into a situation as marketers or business people where we lose sight of how do we grow revenue while still adhering to these challenges. Another thing that I think we're going to see is really kind of that dichotomy between platform ecosystems and best of breed technology. So you see that in a lot of different spaces. Do I buy an ERP that does everything? Do I buy a suite of tools from a suite of tools from one of the big technology providers to be able to do everything? Or do I kind of find the best of breed and integrate things into a system which hopefully don't create a Frankenstein-like system where none of my systems work together? So really understanding how to plug in those best of breed softwares into an overall ecosystem is going to change. And then I think the last piece is really that integration maturity. So, tying into the platforms versus best of breed. Some companies that are able to connect their systems together are going to have a huge competitive advantage when you're able to understand customer data and employee data and all sorts of data that you may have from a couple different angles, and have that in an integrated manner so you can see that complete view of where things are by connecting those systems together. You see value from marketing, but you also see efficiency gains. I think you see better integration between functional units, and all that comes back to how software can talk together. Software talking is just as important as people talking nowadays.
Yeah, absolutely. That's very interesting. Now, why should organizations consider an IT services partner when it comes to architecting and implementing and managing technology?
Sure. That's a question that we get often as there's a lot of software providers out there that maybe have internal services teams to help with that product or service. So I think the one thing we found is, no matter how great a technology is, there's really not a silver bullet. So despite what an individual salesperson at technology may say, where there's a solution that can solve all your needs, and as much as, as a consumer, you might want to find a piece of technology that does absolutely everything you need to do, it just really isn't the case. So working with a services partner that understands, the tool that you're buying or the tool that you're trying to get the most out of, and how that really carries across your wider stack is hugely important to be able to, be successful, to make sure everything works and runs on schedule. The other piece is technology is an enormous investment, both in terms of the software licenses, as well as the people expenses that it takes to really run and maintain those systems. So having someone that knows not only your platforms and how they interact with each other, but also how your processes need to change based on those technologies, and how your people need to grow and change, whether you need to bring new people in or potentially work with a services provider to supplement talent that you don't have on staff, or really being able to teach them how to use products to their fullest efficiency is kind of where you get the gains. And a services provider helps you do that by understanding all those things. And then the two last pieces, these are going to be consistent anytime you bring a consultant in, but you're going to have a faster time to value given that they have familiarity with the product. While, as a company, when you buy a software, I fully believe that you need to learn what it does and how it works and how it engages with your stack. But working with a services partner, you're not going to make some of those mistakes that you invariably are going to make anytime you bring a new system on. So because, in a lot of cases, we've uncovered the issues that may come up by going a certain direction or another direction, we may be able to help you propose and get to where you need to go quicker. The other piece that I think we help with is really offering a wider view of that solution. So, too often when you bring a solution in, you're bringing it to solve your business problem, which is incredibly important. But sometimes because you're so focused on your particular solution, you may not understand what could be or what might happen if you adjusted processes a little bit or integrated a tool with another tool in order to, kind of get more synergy across the board. And that's, I think, another great thing that services providers like Zirous can bring to the table to really help solve your long-term initiatives.